Total War Warhammer 3's launch is just around the corner, and there are a lot of different options for campaigns in the base game across Cathay, Demons, Ogres, and Kislev. Altogether, you're looking at 12 legendary lords, and with that is quite the decision of which campaign you want to play. In this video series, I'll be giving you a spoiler-free campaign overview to help you decide if it's the right campaign for you. Each campaign will play differently, with an emphasis on a particular playstyle, unit choice, or mechanic. Our next video in this series will highlight Kostaltyn, the Supreme Patriarch of the Grand Orthodoxy of Kislev. Established by Boris Ursus, the Orthodoxy seeks to unify all of Kislev's cults into one homogenized belief system. Kostaltyn, the ever-ambitious zealot, does this at the head of the faction Grand Orthodoxy. You'll be able to find the rest of these videos as they're made, linked in the playlist in the upper right corner and end of this video. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do these videos is by giving you a no-spoiler breakdown. I'll boot the game up on turn 1 of the campaign, I'll explain the mechanics of the character in question, show you their skills, quickly show off their research tree, and then give you an overall idea of what the campaign plays like. Keep in mind, this is not a guide, but a quick campaign overview to help you decide which campaign to play when Total War Warhammer 3 launches. Feel free to jump ahead to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters to note it in the timeline and the description. Before we get started, if you have not yet pre-ordered Warhammer 3 and intend on buying the game, you can support the channel by using the link to my Nexus Store. Nexus provides Steam keys directly from the developer, and I get a cut of every sale, which helps keep the channel alive. Lastly, if you end up enjoying the content, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. I cannot tell you how much it helps out. Let's get started here on Kostaltyn's campaign summary in Total War Warhammer 3. Loading into the campaign, we've got turn 1 here for Kostaltyn. So let's take a look at his faction effects, as well as some of the bonuses that he gets as the leader of the Great Orthodoxy. Cultist of Urson is going to give him a -4 diplomatic relation with the faction of the Ice Court, the one Katarine leads. Devotion generated 10 from successful Patriarch actions. Ward save plus 20% for embedded Patriarchs, and then melee attack and leadership plus 5 for Kossars, Kosovoid dervishes, and then horse archer units. This does not apply to armored Kossars. I would say that specifically if it did. So for climates, we get 3 suitable climates for the Great Orthodoxy: frozen, mountain, and then temperate. Is unpleasant is wasteland, temperate island, savanna, and then jungle. Uninhabitable, though, is magical forest, ocean, chaotic wasteland, and then desert, because I also have a beard and I don't want to go in a desert. It's going to become very dry and brittle. So that is the actual faction overview, or the faction bonuses we get as Kostaltyn. We're going to now go into some of the faction mechanics here for Kislev. I've recorded these pretty much the same for every single one of them because it is the same for both Kostaltyn and Katarine. It's a little bit different for Boris. So if you are watching these out of the order in which I made them, just know that if it sounds the same, it will be the same because it is a same faction mechanic. So let's move through some of those mechanics right now. The first mechanic I want to talk about is the Motherland, and this is split into 2 separate parts: invocations and supporters. So for invocations, you would use one of these. You'd invoke one of the gods of Kislev and bestow their blessing across the Motherland. And these abilities will last for 10 turns. They will cost you devotion, which we'll get into a second here. But it is worth noting that you can only have 1 invocation active at a time. So even if you've not gone through all 10 turns of, say, invoking Salyak, you maybe are 8 turns into it, and you want to invoke Dodge, it will overwrite your invocation to Salyak, and the invocation of the Motherland will now be Dodge. So these will all cost, like I said, devotion, and defending Kislev against the forces of chaos will produce devotion along with pious buildings. Consume your devotion by invoking the Motherland, which will bolster your territory and allow the gain of supporters. You gain devotion with certain buildings, characters, certain events, fighting chaos, and there's actually a post-battle option after you fight chaos to then sacrifice the captives to chaos, giving you even, to Kislev, not to chaos, giving you even further devotion. Certain hero actions and then certain technologies will all grant you devotion. Then it's used, of course, in these invocations, in the invoking the Motherland, but also whenever you declare war on another Kislev nation, which will also drain from your supporters. Certain events, certain buildings will also require you to spend construction. Also, there are certain technologies that will require devotion as well. And then when you invoke each one of these motherlands, you get these bonuses. So let's take a look at the first one here with Salyak. 1 supporter gained when you have a character rank increase, with also 20 growth and 8% casualty rate replenishment increased. Moving into Dodge here, supporters generated 1 when constructing a building, income from trade plus 15%, and income from all buildings plus 8%. With Urson, we get supporters generated 5 when occupying a settlement, causes attrition to enemy armies within your territory, which is quite nice, and the Bitterness of Winter army ability, which will lower leadership, lower speed, and drain vigor in a 35-meter radius around wherever you decide to place this. Also, it has got 3 uses, as well as the ability here for Tor. So this is going to give you 2 supporters when fighting any battle. Army ability Wrath of the Bear, which is going to increase AP and base weapon damage by 50%, and then melee attack plus 5% for all armies. That is your Motherland mechanic for the invocations. But let's look at the supporters here. So if you've played Total War Saga Troy, you probably remember this little gauge here whenever you played Hector or Paris. And the way that works here is it's just horizontal rather than vertical. But really what happens is that you're pretty much vying for control of the motherland from the Ice Court or the Great Orthodoxy, depending on whether you're playing Katarin or Kostaltyn. And each one of these characters will move up this gauge. And you gain these supporters from buildings, events, fighting chaos, or invoking the motherland. And as you've seen, you get 2 supporters when fighting a battle if you've got Tor invoked, for example. But then you lose supporters through certain events or by fighting against Kislev. You'll lose 2 supporters every Kislev battle. So the way to kind of offset that is you would use the Invocation of Tor, which would gain you 2. It becomes a wash. So that's important because you want to try to confederate all of Kislev and not conquer it, but sometimes it's just not the case. And as you progress up this, you'll get these different benefits. So diplomatic relations plus 10 with Kislev, 2 control, 5 leadership, 2% speed. And as you jump into each one, to growing influence, to increasing popularity, to establishing dominance, you'll gain more and more of these bonuses. But then lastly, you get Loyalist Supremacy, which will be obviously a huge bonus to all the previous ones. As the player, by the way. So if you are playing as Katarine and a Kostaltyn gets to this point, it won't happen. As the player, you will confederate your political opponent. So again, if you're playing as Katarine, you will confederate Kostaltyn, not the other way around if Kostaltyn is an NPC. So I know that question will come up and just worth talking about here. So this is a way to just basically force Kislev to unite, playing into the supporters mechanic, which you can then use devotion or coin to reduce the support of your opponent. So if you're playing as Kostaltyn and you want to reduce the supporters that the Ice Court has, you can pay 5,000 gold and it reduces the supporters by 50, or use devotion of 200 and it reduces those supporters by 50 yet again. You'll find that the mechanic around this is geared towards trying to unify Kislev as much as possible, trying to confederate the other sub-factions of Kislev into one umbrella, again, as fast as possible, because it all is kind of geared towards your technology and everything. You need to unite these lands. Of course, too, if you want to unlock Boris Ursus, you need control of Erengrad, Kislev, and Prague anyway. So this is your motherland mechanic for Kislev, and this all links into this mechanic right here, the Chaos Incursion mechanic. So the way that this is, it's linked to your devotion. So right now it says devotion is low. There's a small chance of a Chaos Incursion appearing in your land soon. So this will be either this little symbol, this little Chaos Demon, or it will be a shield. If it's a shield, it's saying, hey, you're good, you have a high enough devotion, so there will not be a Chaos Incursion upon your land. But the lower your devotion, the higher the chance, the larger the army. So you could randomly just have a Chaos army appear in your land that you then have to contend and fight against, no matter what Legendary Lord you're playing in Kislev. Moving into the Ice Court, we have the ability to train up your heroes and lords that are, well, coming from the Ice Court, your Frost Maidens and your Ice Witches. Now, these characters, you'll have to actually unlock the specific technologies to actually go ahead and train them up. And once you do, you spend some money, they jump into this little slot, and they'll be training there for, say, 8 turns. Now, during that process, and I don't want to show it to you because I don't want to spoil it. It's a very fun little kind of build your own hero, build your own lord kind of process, not in the same way as the Demon Prince. You just have these dilemmas that you'll be faced with that will help shape the character as they come into the game. And they'll get a lot of traits that will then be applied. Stuff like -4 to corruption, or increasing control, or increasing the melee attack of your entire army. So you can decide, is this going to be a hero that mainly goes around the campaign map supporting you? Is it going to be a hero that supports your army? Is this going to be a brand new lore that is meant to push your frontier? Or is it a lore that's maybe meant to stay domestically and help support growing your faction? That's the kind of cool thing about the Ice Court, is you get to build these heroes and lords out before they even come into the game. It is a brand new mechanic here, and as you research them, you'll be able to unlock more and more of their presence in your campaign for whatever legendary lord you're playing for Kislev. Jumping forward a little bit, we have the Adamant's mechanic for all 3 of your legendary lords for Kislev. And the way that this works here is that you need to have at least 2 provinces, because for every 2, you get access to an Adamant. Assign an Adamant to govern a province, conferring bonus effects. 1 Adamant can be assigned for every 2 provinces that you own. You've got your list of Adamants right here. You've got your provinces on the map, and you just simply click this to assign them. But above these little assigning portholes, you have got these flags, and that's going to give you your income, your control, your growth, and then your corruption details. So basically what's going on in those provinces. Then you'll see on this case over here, this little red next to it shows what the Adamant is influencing. He's giving +5 to income and +10 to growth. Looking over at all of our available Adamants, you can see that there's other ones that give just simply corruption reduction. Some give you growth and corruption reduction. This one just gives you a ton of income. It's whatever you want to focus on is the Adamant that you would then place in that slot. It takes a turn for it to get there, and then it pops in. So here's some of the cool things though about that Adamant, because just like the Ice Court, you're going to be dealing with dilemmas every handful of turns. And those dilemmas are going to confer these passive bonuses onto the Adamants. Stuff like, oh, here's an increase to the control that they help out with. Or this will actually give them a military bonus and help out with melee attack for the entire army. You're basically getting a whole ton of these passive bonuses onto the Adamant over time. But in desperate times, you can actually pull them out from their position as an Adamant onto the battlefield as a set Boyar Lord. The thing to kind of keep in mind with this is they will recruit at the rank of 1, or if you have a bunch of technologies and skills that would increase your lord rank, that would help increase it. But even if they have a ton of Adamant abilities, they still will come out at rank 1. But the nice thing is that they will not have an upkeep on them until you pull them out. So a lot of players that go through Total War, they might choose to have a legendary lord that stays domestically and boosts the economy, right? Just a lot of control or a lot of corruption reduction, whatever it is. But you unfortunately have to deal with your supply lines and the upkeep that that lord would cost you. The Adamant does not, unless we jump down into our city, we press recruit lord, and you see we've got our standard boyars. We'll click Adamant. We now have the Adamant we can just pull into our lands here, right? So you can see it's going to cost us just a 245. There's no actual cost association with him in this screen, so it's quite nice to just kind of jump this guy onto the battlefield whenever you want. In addition to, after his amount of turns, if you dismiss him, you can put him back to Adamant if you so wish. But in the meantime, you can just simply appoint another one from the list on the left over here. So that is the new Adamant's mechanic here for Total War Warhammer 3 in Kislev. Moving into the character skills for Kostaltyn, we get some fun stuff to go into. So his trait is the Supreme Patriarch, which reduces wound recovery by 2 and then gives frenzy to the entire army, which is very lovely. But looking at his actual abilities here, just to kind of show frenzy off if you don't really know what it does, here you go. He has quite a bit, and like I've said before when we were talking about Boris or any of the other legendary lords for Kislev, the weaker that they become on the battlefield, the stronger they actually get, weaker as it pertains to their health value. Because he's got 2 abilities here. One, Urson's Ward. So if his hit points are less than 25%, he's going to actually start to heal himself. Also, the Courage of Sacrifice is going to grant 12 leadership and 5 melee defense in a 35-meter radius around Kostaltyn to to anyone that is lower than 25% health. We would couple this by Buy Our Blood, which we've talked about before, which we'll go into again. And as far as other abilities go, the standard fare is there. Encourage, Wounds, Hide, Resilience, and then Missile Resistance is here. He also starts off with Urson's Roar. This is one of the prayers. It's going to give charge bonus and leadership. As far as his actual stats go, he has a lot of melee attack. Also flaming and magical attacks here at 60, which is quite high for him. Low melee defense and low armor at 20 and 40. And then a good ish seeming amount of AP damage at 199. It's very low to start, but that will become much higher as he can be put onto a warbear and be pretty disgusting. His health though is at 3800 as well as having 34 speed. Moving into his actual skills, we get the standard fare blue line here just to kind of hover over these. There's nothing special here. It's all the same that you would normally get with attrition, corruption, control, recruitment reductions, your draft master. Lightning strike, and as again, just to point this out, it will enable lightning strikes when reinforcements are present, allowing you to do the lightning strike of Warhammer 1 and 2 that cuts off reinforcements, thus making it so that you actually have a small vigor penalty, but they don't get any reinforcements. Or you just use the new Warhammer 3 battle reinforcement time, and it's been increased by 50% if you have level 3 of Lightning Strike. But then you get Quartermaster, Logistician, Alert, and Renowned and Feared, helping him with upkeep, campaign movement, hero self-defense, and enemy hero action success chance reduction, and recruitment rank for all your units. Moving through your red line, again, you get the new Warhammer 3 Inspiring Presence, granting 75 unit experience, as well as the character aura leadership effect. But you get firing drills for all of your Kossars and Streltsies. You get a Best of the Court, which is going to help with Ice Guard and Zargard. Relentless Charge for your Kossovite Dervishes, Winged Lancers, and Griffin Legion, as well as Horse Archers. Creatures of the Land, helping your Warbears, Elemental Bears, and Snow Leopards. You do start with an Elemental Warbear, which is quite nice. This is his starting army down here. The Skilled Craftsman is going to help with War Sleds and Little Grom. You get Rally. Then you get the respective rank 7 bonuses for each of those units we've mentioned before, and Stand Your Ground. We get the prayers. Now the prayers are different here for Kostaltyn than a normal Patriarch. You actually get all of these prayers. If you're on a Patriarch, it just locks one of these out. You get all of them because you're the Grand Patriarch. So you can actually have Dodge's Song of Winter Sunlight, which is going to reduce vigor per second. Tor's Battle Hymn is going to increase your melee attack. And then Salyak's Lullaby is going to increase health. Again, it's limited to the amount of units around. I think it's like 5 units around. It doesn't say that in the tooltip. Also, too, it's got 3 charges. Just to kind of show those off real quick. Then you get your standard fare yellow line here with bonuses to all the things that you would expect. Go through these really fast. Show those off for you guys. Oh, you get Blessing of Discs. I totally forgot to look at that. But this character's aura leadership effect is +5. So it's an even further bonus onto your leadership aura. Then lastly, you get Enduring Devotion here. So melee defense +5, leadership +4, immune to psychology. Anyone within 35 meters radius around him, but he has to be in combat for this to go off. So you do get all these really nice bonuses for your army as Kostaltyn. It's very similar to Réponse de Léonesse. Now looking in his actual specific skill line, we get For the People, casualty replenishment rate +6% for his army, and leadership +2. A Strong Man gives him hit points and wound recovery time -2. Couple that with his innate ability here that removes that by 2, so you're looking at -4 wound recovery time. Fiery Devotion gives passive ability Blaze of Devotion, imbuing flaming attacks and melee attack +5 and leadership +4 in a 35 meter radius around him, as long as he's in combat. And then Devotion gained from successful hero actions +20%. Faction wide. Promote the Pious. Devotion granted or generated +2. Devotion generated 2 per turn is what I meant to say. Hero recruitment rank +2 for Patriarchs. Hero recruitment cost -30% for the local province. And then Howling Rage is melee attack +10 for himself, as well as weapon strength +15%. And then Firebrand, recruitment cost -50% for the Lord recruitment, for the Lord's army, and then local recruitment capacity +2. What's nice about this is you can couple this with a commandment you can get in a province that'll increase your local recruitment capacity by 2. And your recruitment cost by 10, reduces that. So you're looking at 60% and 4 local recruitment capacity from that alone. You couple that with some of the other things down here like this, recruitment cost minus 15%, you're looking at a disgusting 75% recruitment cost reduction across all the possible bonuses just from that. And we didn't even go into stuff like Renowned and Feared, which gives you additional recruitment ranks there. So you can really get an army fast as Kostaltyn, which is really cool, and pay near nothing for it, which is very nice. Now, the very top line, he gets a War Horse and then a War Bear at rank 11. Urson's protection for some missile resistance. Just to kind of show off too, look at all the bonuses he gets when he gets on a War Bear. It's quite significant, right? So his weapon strength, which was kind of middling before, becomes very strong when she gets on a War Bear, gets Howling Rage and Icon of Strength, as well as Fervor to really boost his weapon strength significantly. But just to show that off. He gets Arcane Vessel here too to give some nice fireball. And then lastly, Orthodoxy in Action, which is going to increase the cost for Hallowed Wood buildings. Hallowed Wood buildings increase the yield of your farms, and then the income yield. And construction costs minus 20% for Orthodoxy buildings, income from all buildings plus 10%. So those are your skills here for Kostaltyn. Let's look at the quest item he gets is the Burning Brazier, which is going to give income from post-battle loot plus 10%, corruption minus 5%, recruitment costs minus 10%. If you've been counting, that's now minus 85% stacked across all of his buffs. Melee attack plus 6, and then ability Brazier's Mace of Urson. I know what I said. I said what I said as a joke. This gives you plus 25% base and AP weapon damage, but only enabled if hit points less than 50%. Tying into that similar thing we get with Kislev units becoming stronger the lower their health is. So those are all of our character skills for Kostaltyn. Let's move into some other little quick things across the character skills for the heroes of Kislev. And just to quickly show this portion off, just like it is true for every other character in Kislev, the Frost Maidens all get access to the Guardian's Call ability, which allows them to summon a Snow Leopard. And as you progress through the ranks, it'll get bonuses like increased melee attack and defense. And lastly, it'll get the biggest bonus to greatly increased melee attack and melee defense. But just to show these characters off for Kislev, as they do have some great abilities here, just to kind of hover over these. And then for the other hero, we have got the Patriarch, which has access to the individual buffs, the individual prayers, but they also get, just like the Ice Witches do, these kind of specializations. And just to kind of hover over these really quick for you. That covers all of the unique skills and whatnot for this character. Let's go ahead and move on into some battle stuff. Curveball, I've lied to you. We're actually talking about technology next. So the research tree for Kislev is split into 4 different trees. And you've got one for the land that you'll always have access to, one for Kislev, one for Erengrad, and then another one for Prague. And the top location for the top portion of each location everyone has access to, but you need to research 5 of the top portion of Prague, Erengrad, or Kislev, and then you get access to the more advanced technologies at the bottom, only if you actually hold that respective location. So, for example, if I jump through 5 of these technologies in Erengrad, and I own Erengrad, I can then research these 6 technologies at the bottom. And some of them are very, very good. Is it Kislev? Yeah, Kislevian Ducat will give you income from trade good producing buildings plus 100%. So these all working in tandem allow for Kislev to have a just disgusting amount of income. And I cannot tell you how hard that goes. Like, Erengrad is your chief port city, and once you get access to it, every single time you increase a specific building there, it adds another tradable resource. I think it starts with just hides, then it goes up to something like iron is your next one, so you have iron and hides from one building. Then I think it's like pottery or marble, whatever it is. You just keep stacking all these tradable things. So all this stuff works in conjunction very well. And on top of it, it does give you a kind of drive to get to these. Because if I say I'm playing as, let's say I'm playing as Boris, right? And I want really good war bears. Well, the only way to get bear baiting, which gives frenzy to your war bear riders, is to hold Kislev, right? Or let's say you want really good Ice Guard. Well, Again, mesh layers, which is going to give missile resistance for Kossars, armored Kossars, Streltsy, and Iceguard units. That's here in Kislev. Or if I look across the way, Siege Mentality gives melee defense, under siege, ammunition for all the aforementioned units I just talked about, and reload time reduction when I own Prague. So you really need to kind of decide how you're going to select these individual locations, right? Because getting them is going to be chief to your campaign. It's a big driving force for you is to unite all of Kislev, but it gives you access to much better technologies throughout Kislev. And the last ones here on the land, everyone can do, you just simply need to have access to them. But you'll see that there are 4 technologies that require devotion. And each one of these will upgrade the respective invocation of the motherland that they correspond to. So this one, Dodge Cult Customs, upgrades Dodge Invocation of the Motherland, increases income from all buildings and trade, and adds the Land Awakened army ability. Or this one, increases capture replenishment, growth, and control of all provinces. Just to kind of show these off real quick, melee attack of all units, and this one will help out with melee defense of all armies. So this is your technology tree for Kislev. Now for some unique combat mechanics for Kostaltyn, like I've said before, these will be the same mechanics for all 3 of the legendary lords. The legendary lords are the ones that add a lot more layers to the kind of, I guess, repeating motif of the lower the health pool of your Kislevian units, the more abilities they get access to. And we've gone through some of those from the character skills here of Kostaltyn, but every single unit in the Kislevian army will get the By Our Blood ability. So as leadership is wavering or low, you get 1 use of this and it'll be unbreakable for 30 seconds. You don't activate it, it does it naturally, and the kind of banner around it becomes all cool and snowy. But just to show this off too, remember you get Courage of Sacrifice. So if a unit's hit points are less than 25%, they will get access to this, as well as some of the other things that we talked about here. Oops, sorry, let me go back over to this. Some of the other things we talked about looking at the skills for Kostaltyn. And one thing too to just kind of mention, in the Kislevite army, almost every single unit is a hybrid unit. All the Kossars, just a standard edition here, have missiles and, they have bows and arrows and spears. These guys have bows and arrows and axes. Your armored Kossars will have sword or axe and shield or great weapon, in conjunction with pistols on both of those. And your Ice Guard have either dual hand weapons or a glaive, as well as a magic bow and arrow for both options. So while that is not necessarily a unique mechanic, it is a unique feature set of the Kislevian army. I just feel like kind of illustrating in this section here. But that is your unique combat mechanics for Kislev. Now that we've gone over pretty much every Kislev and Kostaltyn mechanic, the real question is, how does Kostaltyn's campaign play? And is it right for me? And the difference here between Kostaltyn and, say, Boris is that they're both on polar opposite ends of the kind of Kislev frontier, right? You have Katerina over here, Boris is over here. And Kostaltyn starts all the way over here in the Troll Country, right up against Chaos. And that's really the theme of the campaign you're going to be playing. In the earliest portions of the campaign, you will be able to unify your first province and probably get Erengrad. But after that, it's really a campaign of survival against the oncoming chaos tide. You're going to be beset on all sides, north, west, okay, maybe not south as much, but pretty much everything from this direction is going to be tons of chaos coming your way. And then when you get into the portions of the rifts that open up, you're going to be just beset by lots of different types of chaos. And that's the big theme for Kostaltyn's campaign. So if you want to be this kind of bastion against chaos that truly is on the frontier against the chaos wastes, then this is really going to be the campaign for you, because it goes from a very controlled, I'm having a lot of fun, I have a lot of economy to take advantage of, to they're at the doorstep, they're everywhere, and I have to have all these armies defending all these different points, which is very enjoyable and very different from Katarina's, which is more of a unification style of campaign. And also it's worth noting that Kostaltyn's unit choices focus very heavily on the Kossars, and as a result of that, you have cheaper units that you can refund and put back, that you can replace very quickly with all the recruitment cost reductions that you have access to and all the local recruitment capacity increases you have access to. So it allows you to go from either a super beat up army to a fully replenished army that has got brand new recruits in its place, or popping up a brand new army in a location that you just didn't have fortified properly, and have it have almost a full stack within a turn or two because of the abilities that you get access to. So having those kind of a focus on the quote-unquote cheaper, lesser tier 1, tier 2 units of Kislev is a very fun campaign, because you see that he is a very big support character and he boosts the capabilities of his units without using overt magic like Katarine will. So that's the big kind of difference here, and I think Kostaltyn is going to be a campaign that you'll really enjoy if, like I've said, you want to be that Kislevian bastion, a barrier, that shield against chaos. But as always, guys, this concludes our video here for Kostaltyn. So if there is anything that I missed or you wanted to know a little bit more about, whatever it is, feel free to go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Say, hey, you know, this is a mechanic I wanted to hear a little bit more about, or could you show me more about this and that? Whatever it is, more than happy to help out. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.